notes in order for them to be successful in their upcoming modules or in their upcoming courses. So therefore, right now, I am going to share my screen in order for us to go through the note-taking process and the procedures, how many methods of note-taking techniques or strategies do we have. So let me go ahead and share my screen right now in order for us to go through it. As you are aware by now, therefore, there are many parts into our classes. There is the lecturing part. There is some sort of interactive part where students are supposed either to do some sort of reading or watch some videos in order for them to have more understanding or a better understanding in regard to the topics which we are simply discussing in the class. So now I'm going to share my screen so that we can go through the lecturing part. Okay, here we go. I'm assuming that everyone is able to see my screen. Can you kindly, like one or a few students, confirm if you're able to see my screen?
I can see it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Awesome. All right, note taking. So sometimes we might be familiar with some terminologies. However, whenever we get into it in detail, we'll learn that whatever we knew about that particular topic or that particular terminology does not cover really whatever it means. So that is the reason maybe you have heard what is note taking, and maybe at some point you think like you know how to take notes. However, maybe after this lecture and after going through some videos and some extra topics, you are going to maybe realize that whatever tactics or whatever methods you have been using, it might not be efficient and effective. So therefore, in today's class, we are going to simply look closely into the note-taking procedure or the process in order for you to be professional in note-taking. So let's get started. Think about how you take notes during class. Do you use a specific system? Do you feel that the system is working for you? What could be improved? How might taking notes during a lecture section or seminar be different online versus in the classroom? So therefore, as I have mentioned, majorly we take notes during our classes. However, that's not only the accurate part of note-taking, because even during work, all right, whenever we're working, whenever we are simply at meetings, we need to take notes in order for us later to refer back to those notes and in order for us to figure out what were some of the most important things which we have simply discussed during that particular meeting. So right now, however, since this is a course at the college, we are going to focus a little bit more on the college note-taking procedures rather than the work. However, I will be also providing you some work-related topics in order for you to enhance your knowledge in regard to this particular topic. Now, adjust how you take notes during synchronous versus asynchronous learning slightly. So therefore, whenever we talk about those two modes of classes, synchronous and asynchronous, it's very important, firstly, to understand and to distinguish what's the difference between synchronous class and then asynchronous class or asynchronous learning. First, let's distinguish between synchronous and asynchronous instruction. Synchronous classes are live with the instructor and students together. So that is exactly our case. So therefore, folks, every morning you come online, you go online as an instructor, I go online as well in order for us to do or to have our classes. So this is considered as a synchronous class. It's a live class on MS Teams where every morning for the duration of the class, students go online, the instructor goes online, and therefore we simply explain the topics, whatever we have for that particular day. And therefore you as students, you can interact with me, you can ask your questions, etc. However, the asynchronous instruction or the asynchronous classes or the asynchronous learning, it's a material recorded by the professor for viewing by students at another time. So therefore, an asynchronous class, it might be simply dedicated for students to go through whatever we have done. As I am telling you on Friday, that's how you are going to do it. You're not going to be online. However, as an asynchronous class on Friday, you are going to go through everything, whatever we have covered in this particular topic. Or at other times, if the whole course is an can you kindly mute yourself, please? I think someone's mic is on and therefore your background noise is somehow interrupting me. Thank you. So as an asynchronous class, however, there are some colleges or there are some universities which have certain courses or certain majors which are asynchronous, completely asynchronous. What does that mean? That means that the instructor will be recording the classes as if the instructor is live with some students. Sometimes even live classes are recorded, all right? So that students may refer to them at a later point in time. However, that depends on the mode of the delivery and the mode of the course. So therefore, synchronous, whenever we say synchronous, it means it's a live class. There is a live interaction between instructors and the students, whereas asynchronous class usually are materials provided to students or previously recorded lectures or any type of topics which you need as a student to learn about, and you can learn them or you can study during your free time or at any time. Right now, as a synchronous class, you know that your classes are 9 to 1, so therefore you have to be present from 9 to 1. However, let's assume if your course was an asynchronous class, therefore you don't have a specific time where you have to be present in the class, but let's just assume that I will be providing you the material. If there is anything which requires explanation, I will be recording it, and each one of you are going to have that freedom in order for you to go through the recordings or to go through the material at your own time. So it's not like you have to do it from 9 to 1. No, maybe you're going to do it from 2 to 3. Another student will be doing at night because they work, and at night they will be back home, and at that point in time they will be simply studying. Now that we have understood the difference between synchronous and asynchronous learning, let us simply see some tips on how to take notes during both types of instructions. So the first thing we are going to learn today is taking notes during live classes. So whenever we say live class, just think about our classes, because this class is a synchronous class. It's a live class once again, because every morning you attend the classes online, and as an instructor, I go online with you in order for me to explain to you that particular topic for that particular day. During a live class, jot down notes as the lecture or discussion is in progress. Try to do so during pauses in the lecture or discussion so that you don't miss the next piece of information. This is something that you are probably already used to doing in the classroom. So note-taking is not something which you start doing whenever you start attending college or university. No, during your maybe school years, all right, during your grades 10, 11, 12 usually, all right, because it is at that stage where the topics gets a bit more complex and a bit more complicated. It is during that time where you simply start taking notes. So therefore, it is best to take notes whenever there are some type of pauses. Whenever we say pauses, it means that whenever I give you a break, or whenever sometimes I stop and I tell you, like, go through this paragraph and simply try to put down your notes. It is best to do or to take notes at that point in time. Why? Because whenever I'm talking and whenever I'm explaining, it is best to focus on the explanation and afterwards to put down your notes. Now in here, I want to focus on one point is that you don't have to simply listen the whole lecture and only during the break to put down your notes. No, you can simply start putting brief notes in there, such as certain terminologies, certain, words which you think that it is going to simply help you in your studying process. However, during the break time or whenever I give you your study period, what is going to happen? It is at that point in time that you are going to manage, and at that point in time, you are going to organize whatever we have discussed in the class in a more effective manner. Now, taking notes when watching recorded classes. So as we said, the first one, it's for synchronous instruction. The second one, it's for asynchronous, which means like you don't have a specific timing that you need to be in the class, and therefore you can simply access the material at any point in time whenever you want. And if there are any recordings by the instructor, you can watch them at any point in time again and as many times as you want. So recorded lectures and class discussions can be paused, but we suggest you try to watch videos all the way through the first time without stopping them. So it is true that I'm telling you whenever they are recorded instructions or recorded lectures, you can simply access them as many times as you want. However, it's preferable and it's advised not to keep pausing the video over and over again, because in that case, you are going to lose track of whatever information is being discussed, and your main focus is going to go only in simply taking notes. And this type of note taking, it's not effective and efficient. So therefore, it is recommended and it is advised, all right, that you watch the whole video at least one time fully without pausing, without stopping. So imagine that you're in the class, all right, and you're listening to your instructor. You're not going to tell your instructor, pause now. Now go back and play, because we're not robots and I need to keep up with whatever ideas or with whatever certain information I am sharing with you. So therefore, it is suggested to watch the video the first time without stopping, without pausing, in order for you at least to know what is the topic being discussed. Definitely, you might need to go back into that recording or to that video later in time, yes, but the first time, just watch it completely so that you get the idea and the concepts being discussed in that lecture. This allows you to see the whole arc of the material as you take notes and will prevent you from being tempted to write down every word the instructor says, which is typically less useful for studying than notes where you have processed the instructor's words as you listened. Because what is going to happen if you keep pausing, you are going to write every single information or every single word, whatever the instructor is mentioning in that recording, without focusing only on the important things. So maybe your instructor is giving some logical examples or things like that, which you don't really need to write them down. You just need to understand them. But if you keep pausing from the first time because you don't know, you're not seeing the whole picture of the lecture, you are going to think and you're going to be writing down every single information, thinking that that information is important, and that is going to simply prevent you from taking whatever is important, and you will be ending up wasting time writing down whatever is not important. We also encourage you watch the video at their regular speed, all right, as if you were sitting in a synchronous lecture or discussion. Then you can take notes as you normally would during those activities. Sometimes some students, they might simply play with the speed of the video as well. They might simply make it faster or they might make it slower. That's not recommended. You need to keep it at the regular speed. Just consider yourself, you're in a regular class. Right now, you don't have any control over my speed. You cannot tell me, like, you have to talk slowly. I'm not gonna start talking recorded lectures. I'm not gonna do that. And I'm not gonna talk so fast like recorded lectures and class discussions, because that's not gonna simply be effective, because no one is going to understand any single word. So therefore, even in asynchronous classes or in an asynchronous instruction, you need to keep the speed at a regular speed, considering yourself you are in a regular class, and considering yourself you need to act as if you act in a normal classroom environment. So those tactics and those strategies are very important, and knowing the differences between synchronous and asynchronous are very important as well, especially after the COVID. Things are going a bit more towards online, all right? Which means like maybe after a few years, there won't be any synchronous classes anymore as well. Maybe we as instructors, we will be recording our lectures so that students have that flexibility in order for them to go through the material at whatever time they want. However, researches and the studies have been showing that the productivity or the performance of students is lowering down with the online classes. And I can tell you the reason. I have been teaching for many years now, and I have simply taught in a classroom environment and on an online basis. And I can simply tell you that as an instructor, I do not have any control over you, all right? Which means like I don't have control in order for me to know who is really listening to my lecture right now, or who is just like I'm at their background, and maybe someone of you are watching TV or doing any other activities. So in that case, you're not fooling me. You're just like not making use of your time, because I'm trying to help you and I'm trying to enhance your skills and qualifications. But that is something, if you're not interested in, I cannot mandate or oblige you to do that. So therefore, as I said, like researches and the studies have showed throughout the COVID or the pandemic years that the performance of students are going down and down. And as an instructor, I can emphasize on that point, because I have been experiencing, all right, the performance of students. If I have to compare before the COVID time and after the COVID time, I can see a very huge difference. Also, one of the factors are those technological enhancements or technological improvements, such as the artificial intelligence, the ChatGPT. All those things are simply lowering your level of thinking, because nowadays you ask a very simple question to students and their main focus is, let me put it on the internet and let me get the answer, without even putting a single effort in them in order for them to think about the topic or in order for them to analyze the question. And that is throughout the years is going to simply lower the level of your thinking and your level of critical and analytical thinking. So therefore, if you want my advice, don't do that. Always, whenever you are asked a question, whenever you're given an assignment, yes, sometimes you need to do some researches in order for you to gather information, but gathering information is totally different than copying and pasting information. Now let's go into the third part. Check in with yourself. When viewing recordings, check in with yourself and your level of attention frequently as you watch. Are you listening? Are you really listening deeply? Are you absorbing the material? Do you need a break? When deciding when to view asynchronous material, make sure you budget enough time to view videos, take notes, and give yourself breaks. And in here, I'm just going to mention that sometimes whenever classes are recorded, which means like whenever they are asynchronous classes, students simply do not invest time in order for them to watch the recordings. What happens is that whenever you are performing any other task or any other duty, you are going to put your instructor's recording by your side. Let's say you're cooking. You're gonna put your instructor there, your instructor's recording in there and trying to listen. This is not a podcast, all right? This is learning, which means that you need to invest time, you need to focus on every single thing, whatever is being mentioned in there. Those asynchronous classes are not for entertainment. These asynchronous classes are just in order for you to watch them when you feel like you have time to do that. But whenever you're multitasking, which means like you're cooking, your kids are around, and if you're simply listening to your instructor's recording, that's not efficient or effective at all, because you're not focusing, you're not putting all your attention in there. So therefore, it's very important to simply ask yourself certain questions, such as, am I really listening deeply to whatever is being said in that particular recording, in that lecture? Am I really understanding and absorbing whatever is being mentioned in there? And definitely you need a break. I'm not telling you don't take a break, because even in our classes, like live synchronous classes, we have half an hour break, because that time we need to simply recharge our batteries. No one can simply sit down for 4 hours and listen to a lecture or simply read materials or articles. That is impossible, and that is not what is required from you. So definitely, even whenever it's an asynchronous class and whenever you are listening to a recording, it's very important to say that I'm gonna listen to this recording, let's say for 50 minutes, and after that I'm gonna take 10 minutes break. After that, I am going to simply resume. And definitely your instructors are well known that they are not going to simply make a lecture or a recording for 4 hours. That's why first day we clarify to our students that there are many structures or categories to our classes. It's not going to be only 4 hours lecturing or 4 hours of anything. Neither you as a student, you can keep up with that, nor myself as an instructor, I can talk for 4 hours. That is impossible. That is why classes are divided into many categories, such as the lecturing part, another part where if there are any extra materials which you are required to read on your own. Another category is just watching videos and simply trying to understand whatever has been covered in the class. And there will be definitely some category or some part of the class which is a study period, so that you can sit down, so that you can manage, and so that you can organize the ideas and your notes, whatever you have been taking during the class. So therefore, the check-in with yourself is very important, and that is why you don't need to multitask whenever you are simply having a class, because it's very obvious. Your main focus is not going to be on the lecture, or your main focus is not going to be simply on the topic being discussed. Now, consider writing notes by hand. This is what is the main point in here, by hand. Typing notes on your computer is convenient, but consider that research has shown for those who are able to do so that we learn better when we write notes by hand. When we write notes by hand, we transcribe less and interpret more. In other words, we do not write down the instructor's words verbatim, but rather we put the concepts in our own words, which indicates that learning is already taking place. Some students find it helpful to type up their handwritten notes during review, expanding on what they have written. others add to their handwritten notes. Writing notes by hand can also be a welcome break from typing on your computer during remote learning. This is very important. Although now everything is going and technology is improving, and definitely we might find, some students might find it easier to take notes on their computers typing as the instructor is talking. However, researchers and the studies have shown that if you write down your notes by handwriting, by hand, that is more efficient and effective, because whenever you're writing down the notes, you're not writing word by word whatever your instructor is saying. However, you are simply interpreting and you are writing down those notes in your own words, which on the other side, you are already in the process of learning, all right? So it means like whenever you're typing, because you are typing quickly and you're trying to keep up with the speed of the instructor and your typing speed, you will not be focusing on the interpretation part or on the learning part. Your main focus is just let me type whatever is being said in there. However, when you're writing down by hand, you are going at the same time, you will be in the learning process and in the interpretation process. Now, some students, what they usually do is that they write their notes by hand, and afterwards, whenever they are simply preparing for their exam, they simply type them into their computers because it might be more neat, maybe, all right, and it might be maybe visually more clear, more concise, more precise. Yes. However, that should be done during the revision period, all right, whenever you are just in the process of reviewing those notes. However, preliminary, whenever you are taking notes, it is advised and it is recommended by academic directors or academic researchers to do that by hand. Write them by hand, because whenever you're writing your notes by hand, you are interpreting, you are also studying, you are processing that information, which means that your brain and your mind is simply absorbing those things, whatever are being explained in the class. Afterwards, if you want to type them on your computer, you may do that whenever you are reviewing before your exam, because in that case, you are managing and organizing your ideas if you want them to appear neat and clean. Now, review your notes. Plan to review your class notes regularly. This is something, if you recall, we have discussed it whenever we were talking about the 7 strategies to success. So we said that after each and every class, it's preferable to simply read your notes, or if you are given an assignment, to start at least putting some plan in there. So plan to review your class notes regularly. Don't leave yourself until the very last minute before the exam time to review them. Write a check mark next to the material you understand really well. So therefore, so far we have covered many topics such as strategies to success, time management, the benefits of time management. We had also very informative videos in regard to failure, etc. So therefore, those were the materials, those were the topics. So whatever you have understood really well, put a check mark beside it, because that's going to be like an indicator to you that, okay, those topics, I have understood them perfectly. And put a question mark where you need to review or expand on your own or with the help of an instructor. If there are any particular questions which might arise whenever you are simply reviewing your notes, put a question mark over there. The question mark means that either you need to do some extra research or some extra study on your own, or if it is something which, let's say an example which was provided by the instructor and later you simply think like you did not get it, then you're gonna refer and you're gonna ask for your instructor's help in that regard. So right now, what is happening? You are managing. So I have understood those very well. I have certain questions in regard to those particular topics. So those things which require a little bit more time, you're going to simply do researches, or if they are something related to your instructor's explanation, you're going to ask for your instructor to help you to understand those notes better. Now, you can also use color coding to label these categories, all right? We know that some students at the beginning of their college or university years, they purchase like notepads, all right? They purchase like colorful labels. I'm one of those students, all right? Still, I'm a student. I'm preparing for higher education right now, all right? So therefore, I am that type of student, which means like I keep labeling whatever is important. I have notepads where I simply write sticky notes, all right, where I simply write down important things and I simply stick them into my books in order for me whenever I'm going through that particular topic or through that particular research, in order for me to know what are the important areas which I need to simply focus on. So therefore, those are tactics and strategies which might help you. So therefore, it might be a good idea before starting college or before starting university to pass by Staples or any other bookstore or library in order for you to grab some maybe color coding, some sticky notes, all right, in order for you to simply write down your notes so that you can refer back to them whenever it is needed. Looking at your notes right after lecture is a good way to mark any areas of confusion you are immediately aware of, but make sure to return to them sometime after your lecture as well to see if you have retained your understanding of the material. So it is true that whenever we're doing a lecture, it's important to put a check mark. What are the things you have understood and what are the things which require more study? However, even sometime whenever I'm not talking particularly about those short courses, all right, which are 3-4 days courses. No, there will be some courses which have a longer period of time, let's say 4 weeks or 5 weeks. So for those courses which are lengthier, it is important that even whenever you put some question marks, maybe in that particular class you did not understand them. However, later, whenever maybe the instructor is digging deeper into those topics and into those concepts, you will gain a better understanding. So therefore, it's very important to keep going back and forth into your notes in order for you to see if you have simply understood and if you are simply understanding the material. Because again, researchers have shown that at the beginning, whenever there is a new topic or whenever there is a new concept which is being explained to students, the first time you might understand maybe 25% of the topic. However, after some period, there is something called incubation period, which means that students are processing that information in their minds. They are absorbing those ideas, and later they will simply feel out themselves like, oh, I know the material very well. I thought that I did not understand it well, but I know everything pretty well. Why did that happen? Because you gave your brain, you gave your mind time in order for it to absorb those ideas. So even if you take this small activity and if you apply it on yourself, such as whenever it is the first time you are learning something new, all right, let's say driving. Whenever you are learning driving, whenever you get into a car for the first time, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel like afraid, scared. You don't know how to drive a car. And therefore, at the beginning, you are going to simply pay attention, and in your brain, you are going to put like steps. Okay, I need to check the rear mirrors. I need to do this. I need to do that. But after a certain period of time, it's going to become like routine. It's going to become practical. Your mind will do all those things. However, you're no longer going to focus what you are doing. So therefore, sometimes as instructors, whenever we explain something, we as instructors, we have absorbed the topic or the material perfectly because we have been teaching it for many years to different level of students. So that is why I personally, as an instructor, try to simply put it in a simple way, to put it in steps, to put it in procedures, because I get that students might need some time in order for them to get the idea and to get the concept. It's not like they are very well informed of that topic or that particular idea or the information perfectly. Okay, so this is very important to get back into your notes and to review them frequently. Now, write down questions. During the lesson and during review, write down questions that you can research yourself or ask to the instructor, a friend, or a tutor. Asking questions allows you to synthesize your knowledge of the material and expand your learning by observing areas of confusion or misunderstanding. Sometimes, whenever an instructor is explaining any information or any topic, there might be some questions coming or arising into your mind. All right, what if this happens? What if that happens? So it's very important to ask those questions, because whenever you're asking questions, it means that your analytical skills are working. All right, your critical thinking is working. Because when do you ask questions? You ask questions whenever you need or whenever you require clarifications. And those questions and those clarifications are going to simply enhance your knowledge and enhance your understanding of the material, and definitely it is going to simply expand the areas of your learning process. Now, before going into some effective note-taking techniques, I'm going to quickly come into the class in order for me to see if you do have any questions in regard to whatever I have explained so far. So if you do have any questions, kindly raise your virtual hands and so that I can take up your questions. Evelyn, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Christine. Sorry, I missed the first part of the lecture. If you don't mind, can you go over them again in brief?
That's not something I can do, Evelyn, all right?
Oh, okay.
Because, yeah, you need to go through them on your own. And if you have any particular questions, you may definitely ask it. However, that's going to be a waste of time for your classmates who have been in the class and listening to the lecture attentively, all right? So once I post the material, you may go through it. And if you do have any particular questions, you may ask it. However, I cannot go through whatever I have already explained once again. All right?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. My pleasure. Any questions in regard to the topic discussed, particular question in regard to the material which we have been discussing so far? Other than asking me to repeat it all, because that means like you were either not actively listening or you were not in front of your screens. But if you do have any particular area or any particular concept which you did not understand, I would be more than happy to simply explain it to you again. All right, no questions. That's good. All right, let's resume then. Below are some common and effective note-taking techniques. Now we know that there is no one rule which is applicable to everyone. There is no one note-taking rule which everyone needs to simply do that. All right. However, there might be a combination of few techniques together. All right. Or therefore, each and every student is going to have a particular technique which they simply feel like this one works best for me. So once again, there is no one rule which is applicable to everyone. Something which might be working for me might not be working for someone else. That is why we are going to look at 4 techniques, note-taking techniques, and you are going to simply figure out throughout your program and throughout your courses which one is the one which best works for you. We have the first one, which is the Cornell notes. The Cornell method for note-taking is designed to help you keep an eye on the broader concepts being explored in your course, while also taking specific notes on what your lecturer or section leader is saying, typically done by hand. The Cornell method involves drawing a line down the edge of your paper and devoting one side to taking notes as you normally would, and the other to including questions and other guiding information that is meant to help you organize your thinking when reviewing the material. So this is applicable whenever you're studying from the book, let's say, all right, you are going to simply assign the edge of that book in order for you to put down notes. However, those notes are going to simply cover broader concepts. We're not writing, what does it mean, note-taking? You're not gonna write every single word or every single concept. You're gonna write the broader concepts, what you think is important in the course or what you think is important based on your instructor's explanation. And on the other side, you may simply assign another part of that book or another part of your notebook in order for you to simply maybe put some questions or to put some like notes for yourself, not for the instructor, in order for you to do some extra research about that particular topic. Because sometimes as instructors, we need to follow a particular curriculum, and sometimes not everything we need to cover as instructors in that curriculum, all right? So therefore, as a student, if you find out there is an area which simply interests you, and if you ask the instructor and the instructor told you like that's not part of the curriculum, so therefore I cannot go in detail through it, then at that point in time you're going to put a note or a question for yourself in order for you either after the class hours or maybe even after finishing the course or the program to do some extra research in regard to that particular topic. So that is the Cornell notes, which means that you are going to divide the book or your notebook into parts where you are going to put broader concepts or certain questions which you might simply need to look closely into them or perform some extra research in regard to that. Now, the second technique is the outlining technique. Outlining is the note-taking method most students intuitively use. It involves writing down information as if you are recreating the professor's outline for the lecture as you listen. So whenever your professor is doing the lecture, you're gonna outline, and this is something which is done intuitively, all right? It's not like you learn or you acquire that skill. It comes simply from within yourself. So whenever I'm explaining, you are simply putting outlines, all right? You are simply putting certain headings that these are certain important information which you need to look back at them. So your aim is to construct bullet points for each idea and to organize them so that major concepts serve as headings with the related some points flowing from them. So therefore, I have been explaining today note-taking. You might not simply had to write every single word, whatever I was saying. However, maybe some of you have been putting like headings in there, and underneath those headings, you might be putting some bullets in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those were the things which Christine focused on whenever she was doing her lecturing. So therefore, this is called outlining. You're putting headings, then you are dividing those headings into subtitles or sub-bullets. The downside of this method is that it works best when students are easily able to identify the major concepts in a course, and less well when the material is not naturally organizing itself in that way. Now, there are certain courses which are core courses, all right, such as, for instance, if we are going to talk about accounting in detail, there are many other detailed information or detailed topics which you need to closely look into them. However, when you can use the outlining more, you can use it in courses such as the one which we are right now doing, student success strategies, because as you can see, majority of the things are common sense. Maybe you were using them before, however, without knowing that this is a technique or this is a strategy in your learning or in your studying process. So therefore, outlining might not work for every single course. Outlining is going to work more for comprehensive courses. However, for other courses where maybe there are rules, where there are regulations, you don't have major concepts in there. All rules are important. All regulations are important. You cannot say this is important, this is not important or less important. All right. If I'm going to give you an example, I teach payroll courses as well, and I prepare students for National Payroll Institute examinations. So in those courses, the students cannot use the outlining, definitely, because every single rule and every single regulation which I teach my students, it is important. They cannot say, for instance, oh, I'm just going to focus on the province of Ontario when I'm studying and I'm going to disregard all the other jurisdictions. We cannot do that. So therefore, you need to verify and you need to distinguish and differentiate which method you can use and for which courses are those applicable. So as I said, the outlining is applicable for comprehensive courses such as the one which we are taking, the student success strategies, because in this course you can simply say that those are common sense, which I already know. So therefore, it's not something which I need to write them down. However, maybe some other important information such as the tactics or the strategies like the names, the Cornell method, maybe those are simply considered as major concepts and major information. So therefore, here comes your smartness in order for you to simply relate which type of technique you have to use and for which type of courses. Now, the third technique is the mapping. So mapping is simply putting down certain concepts into a map. That's why sometimes we say you need to prepare a mind map to our students. So let's say, for instance, the first day, let's say when we came into this class, if I had asked you to put or prepare a mind map for a student success strategies. So therefore, you were going to simply put topics which you think are relevant or which are going to be covered in this topic, such as maybe one of you is going to say time management, another student will be saying maybe failure, another student success, another student maybe note taking, another student maybe like essential skills, another student maybe like saying certain behavior, certain things such as I mentioned few things yesterday, some being punctual in your sleeping time, in your study time, dedicating particular time. So therefore, what is this? This is a map, all right? You are simply putting ideas which you think that they are relevant to that particular course or to that particular module. So mapping involves creating a concept map out of the ideas presented in lecture. It can work well for special learners or in situations where the main concepts of lecture can be simply condensed and organized. It may be less useful in complex lectures since it focuses primarily on central ideas. I don't dig deep in the mapping, all right? It is simply general things, general ideas. That is why we simply put words in there, but we don't simply write down. So as I was giving you the example, if in the mind map I have put time management, that's the mapping in there. That's the concept map. I have put the idea, but I'm not simply saying what is time management. I'm not writing down one by one what is time management. However, once again, that might not work for everything because, as we said, it is simply for generalized ideas, general information. It's not for complex lectures or for core courses. So typically there is not a lot of room to provide detail in a concept map. You don't have enough space. You're just gonna put those headings, those ideas on that concept map, but you're not gonna simply write down information. What does each and every idea means in that mapping? Now, the last technique, it's the sentence technique, which I find it majority of students use this technique, all right? And why am I saying majority of students? Because usually, especially whenever I'm in a physical or in-person class, whenever I'm simply moving around my students, I see majority are writing simple sentences, which simply explains whatever I have covered in that particular class. So sentence note-taking involves simply writing an individual sentence for each point you want to register in a lecture. It works well in situations where you cannot outline because you don't intuitively understand the structure of the material and can't distinguish major ideas from subpoints based on the lecture's style. Typically, this method works best if you have the time afterward to go back and organize your sentences more clearly based on having heard the entire lecture. So in the sentence note-taking technique, because you are still not aware of the overall lecture, because you're taking notes as your instructor is explaining. So therefore, you're gonna simply write down brief sentences which you at that point you might not understand them perfectly, all right? You're just trying to organize them in a way, but later afterwards you're gonna go back into those sentences after hearing or after listening to the whole lecture, and you are going to simply identify and maybe improve those sentences. So maybe you have written a sentence whenever your instructor was explaining. However, after your instructor explained the overall concept or the overall topic, once you go back into that sentence, you might simply tell yourself, oh, I can write this sentence in this way so that whenever later I am reviewing those sentences, I can understand them better. So definitely before starting a course or a lecture and after it, it's not the same situation, because whenever we are at the beginning of the lecture, you might not know every single thing, whatever is going to be covered in that lecture. However, once we are done with the lecture, you are going to have an informative information, you are going to have more additional information and a better understanding about the topic which has been covered in the class. So with that said, we come to the end of the 4 effective note-taking techniques. These are very important, as I said, and as I said, it's not one way or one technique which works for everyone, and there is no one technique which works for all courses. This is where you have to identify which method firstly works for you best, and secondly, you have to identify which method works for each type of courses, because there are certain courses where every information is important, and those courses can be law courses, all right, where there are rules, laws, regulations, because you cannot say this rule is important and this rule is not important. Or as I gave you the example of the payroll courses, I cannot say that I'm going to just focus on the Ontario and I'm going to disregard the other jurisdictions. I cannot do that. So therefore, as I said, there are some methods which work better for certain types of courses, and there are other note-taking techniques which works best for other courses. So here is where you need to simply, after knowing all the techniques, you need to identify which note-taking technique or which note-taking method works for that particular course. Now I'm going to come to the class in order for me to take up your questions. Rocio, go ahead, please.
Hi, I don't understand the second technique of leaning or the leaning.
Okay, it's called outlining firstly. All right,
Okay.
Rocio. What you didn't understand? What main point you did not understand in the outlining technique?
The point that when we use, because it's you say the most the student use is the outline, and is
It depends on the course, all right? It depends on the courses as well.
okay.
So whenever we are saying outlining, it means that you are putting your ideas in bullet forms, all right? So therefore, let's say like you are going through this material, okay? Like the common and effective note-taking techniques. If you are using the outlining, you are going to simply put bullets in there, such as, for instance, let me open a Word document. So you write in here, for instance, note-taking techniques, all right? This is the heading, which means like the topic which is going to be explained down, it's all related to what? To note-taking techniques. Now, underneath, you are going to put number 1, that you have the Cornell method, all right? Number 2, you have the outlining. Number 3, you have the mapping. And number 4, you have the sentence. All right, those are the headings. Now, for each and every method, you might comment, you might put a bullet. What is the Cornell method, for instance? You come to the second one and you put another bullet. What's the outlining? So right now, you're not writing sentences. However, you have the main topic and you have the headings. The headings is Cornell method. What is the subheading in there, or what information does the Cornell method covers? You're simply preparing bullets and headings in order for you to simply understand that particular topic.
Oh,
all right.
Okay, thank you. This is the I do right now.
Oh, so you use therefore the outlining method. You put a heading and then you simply put important ideas in there in a bullet format. Excellent, Rocio.
Yes, okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions, anyone? All right, since you do not have any questions, right now I'm going to stop sharing my screen after I have simply explained the topic to you. Now you are going to simply go through the material on your own, whatever I have simply explained to you, okay? So till 10:30, you're going to have time in order for you to simply do that. And after that, we are going to go ahead and we will be taking our break. And once we come back from the break, I will be telling you what you have to do next. So here we go. I have posted the material. All right, the title is Note Taking. So if everyone, you access the general meeting, here is the PDF copy of whatever I have simply explained to you today. So in order for me to answer your question, Uruj, tomorrow's exam, it's going to be short answer questions. All right. So based on whatever I have covered, and this is not only for Uruj. All right. So please, everyone, listen attentively. There are no multiple choice questions tomorrow or true false questions. There will be some questions asked to you based on whatever we have covered this week, based on the videos you have watched this week, and you are going to simply write short answers. So therefore, you are going to simply write them on a Word document, all right? Now, those students who were with me in the introduction to computers, they know how to use Microsoft Word, but just in case if I have any other students who do not know how to still use Microsoft Word, therefore, I am going to accept exceptionally, all right, handwritten you need to write down your answers. Make sure that your handwriting is neat and clear, because at any point in time, if I don't understand it, I'm not going to simply ask you what is this word or what is that word. That's your responsibility to ensure that your handwriting is clear if in case you don't know how to use Microsoft Word, and if in case you don't know how to type down your answers. So the exam is going to be on the MS Teams, all right? I will be simply, as we have been doing the assignments, I will be posting the PDF of the questions. You are going to answer those questions on a Word document. And after that, you are going to simply attach your answers and turn in. All right. Tomorrow, I will be showing to you quickly once again how to do that in order for you to be able to do it. So your exam is going to be for the duration of 2 hours. All right. Because it's much more than enough, I'm telling you. But I'm going to give you 2 hours, especially for those students who have difficulty, maybe writing in English or maybe putting their ideas in English, so that I can give you enough time. However, if someone was attending the classes, was listening to my lectures, it should not take more than like 45 minutes maximum with you. But in order for me to be flexible, I will be giving everyone 2 hours in order for you to complete and in order for you to submit your assignment. Okay, everyone? So right now, take till 10:30. As I said, kindly go through the material which I have posted and which I have already explained it. At 10:30, we're going to be taking our break. And once we come back from the break, I will be telling you later what you will be doing. Thank you so much. All right, folks, you may go ahead and enjoy your morning break now. We are going to be back at 11 a.m. Enjoy, and I'll see you all back shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, and now we can go.
All right, folks, the morning break is over. Hope you all enjoyed your morning break. Now it's time to kindly be back. And right now, I am going to post a very interesting topic or an article in regard to the note taking. So therefore, this is not something totally new than whatever I have already explained to you. However, it is going to give you some extra information and some extra concepts or ideas in regard to whatever I have already covered. So therefore, I'm going to post the link in the general meeting, and I want you, everyone, this topic or this article should be taking around 45 minutes if you go through it thoroughly. So therefore, I will be giving you 45 minutes in order for you to go and to read this article, because it's gonna help you definitely a lot in your note taking and enhancing your note taking skills. So here we go. Here is the article. Everyone go ahead kindly. You have 45 minutes in order for you to complete reading this article. Thank you. Allah, kindly mute yourself, please. Thank you. All right, folks, as I have told you, I was going to give you 45 minutes in order for you to go through the article which I have posted. So right now I am going to post a very, very interesting video in regard to the secret to note taking, especially this is for people who are busy and sometimes you might not have enough time, and therefore it's going to really help you a lot in your professional lives. So therefore, here is the video. You may watch it as many times as you want. Now, after you are done watching the video, you don't have to let me know that you watched it. All you have to do is to watch it. And after that, kindly use the remainder of the time until I do the closing for today's class at 12:45 in order for you to do everything, I mean, in terms of revision, in order for you to prepare for your exam tomorrow. All right. So therefore, please watch the video. After that, go through your notes, whatever we have done in the previous classes, as well as in today's class, in order for you to prepare for your exam tomorrow. Thank you. All right, folks, thank you so much for your kind attendance and participation. Enjoy the rest of your day. Kindly ensure that you are well prepared for your exam tomorrow. It's not going to be a difficult one. It's going to cover everything, whatever we have discussed in the class in the past few days. So enjoy your afternoon, stay safe, and God willing, I'm going to see you all back tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.